Huh? It's video time already? I don't even have a script written. Oh God, what do I do? I gotta come up with something quick. But what if they don't like it? My ego's too fragile for this. I can't take rejection. What if they laugh and point, or worse, what if they don't even watch the video? My career's over. There's no hope. I can't go on. Huh? Oh, she's just like me. Wait, that's perfect. Thank you, Bocchi. That gives me a great idea. Bocchi the Rock plays D&D. We'll make you the star of the show. Don't worry, she's fine. This happens a lot. So, Bocchi the Rock plays D&D. As always, I'm Metal Atlas, and in this series we take some of those less combat-focused anime and try to do something with them, much like GMD does in the other character build series. But we asked the question, what if they played D&D? What characters would they build, and how would their games go? I feel like most of us can relate to Bocchi in some way, because in this day and age, dealing with people in general often feels like a giant nope. Don't want to do it, don't want to talk to anyone, don't want to deal with the backlash. We all feel more comfortable living in our own world, though it is more fun to share that world with others that care about you. We don't quite have as many characters to talk about as the other series I've done, but we'll still try to make this fun and informative. As always, these things are sort of soul reads. I just kind of look at the character and talk about what I feel each one would be. What you see isn't always what you get though, so if you have different interpretations or ideas, please feel free to share them in the comments. Also, Season 2 was just announced back in February, and we try to stick to the anime, so there will inevitably be stuff I don't acknowledge or reference because they haven't happened there yet. So let's dive in. We're going to be looking at Ryo, Kita, Nijika, our shining star Bocchi or Hitori, Seika, and Kikuri. As always, make sure to give a like, comment, tell us what you'd like to see or what you think, or just make fun of us. The YouTube algorithm is an unforgiving monster, and we need your help to appease it, and everything helps. So if you haven't heard yet, Bocchi the Rock is an anime about a high school girl that has crippling social anxiety. Even the thought of having to do something that makes her uncomfortable sends her into a full-on panic attack where her body defies the laws of reality and breaks down in some way as shown here. Her dream is to form a band with friends and perform at her culture festival, but also to keep playing and be successful someday. Together with Kita, Nijika, and Ryo, they form the Kesaku band. Neat fact, the voice actors for the characters actually sing the songs as well. They're really cool, and if you've ever heard of First Take, they perform both of their songs there, so we'll drop a link in the comments for you to check those out. They're pretty cool. Anyways, each of the girls has their own motivations and aspirations, and we'll dive in right now. Starting with Ryo. I feel like I'm butchering the names a lot this week. Usually I take pride in trying my best to properly pronounce them, but these are some tougher names that I'm not used to seeing, so forgive me for my ignorance. Ryo Yamada is your must-have suave and stoic type. She often keeps to herself, doesn't say a lot, and her mysterious nature tends to draw in fans, especially Kita herself, who tends to fawn and obsess over her quite often. She comes from a rich background, her parents run a hospital and her family is well off, but she tends to find herself broke a lot because she spends each and every cent on instruments, leaving her to often borrow money from friends and not return it. She can be a bit eccentric, often teasing or trying to manipulate the others into buying her food, or sometimes just to see them squirm. She's very passionate about music and what she likes, having extensive knowledge of how the industry formed and even why the stores exist where they shop for new instruments. She's no stranger to being in a band, and even left her former band when they started focusing on writing what would be most popular instead of writing songs they truly felt strong about. When Bocchi writes the lyrics to their first song and shows Ryo, she calmly explains this and asks her to write what she really wants to, and not focus on the superfluous stuff that no one really believes in. She's a loner as well, preferring to avoid social activity, but unlike Bocchi, she just likes being alone instead of being, well, unable to act around people. She also enjoys showing off, but tries to downplay it like it's no effort, though it's clear she likes to be praised. So what does this mean for D&D? She definitely would not be the person to suggest the game. I assume that would be Nijika, who is the de facto leader of the group, and trying to get the team to bond together. As long as she thought it might be fun, or get some pleasure out of it, she wouldn't fuss too much about playing. As far as what she would play, I really think the most obvious answer is Monk. Ryo feels like a person who wouldn't hesitate to throw hands if she really needed to, and a lot of her personality lines up with the typical monk mindset and lifestyle, albeit maybe not in the exact same way. When I think stoic, I think monk. someone who chooses to meditate and be isolated, and Ryo mostly chooses to do her own thing and focus on what she likes to do. Monks can live minimalistically, and Ryo has shown that she'll even eat weeds if it comes down to that, though whether that was for a gag or just following through on what she thought was necessary, who knows. I also think monks are cool. As I've talked about with my first time playing D&D, I've always loved martial arts and grew up watching all kinds of martial art movies. Jackie Chan, Jet Li, Bruce Lee, Donnie Yen, etc. And my first character was a monk. And someone who has the essence of cool without trying, though she tries very hard, just makes me think of those martial art movies, where you only use your skill for defense and they're not typically looking for a fight, but they will finish one. And seeing how she sometimes likes to go overboard and show off a bit, I think the astral self monk fits her as well. Summoning a pair of arms to smack people with and eventually building a sort of Susanoo around herself, complete with a sick helmet or mask, it'll really fully capture that cool essence she exudes, while simultaneously being something that she doesn't focus on, but can easily show off when she wants to. Nijika Ijichi is the band's drummer, and the one that recruits everyone. She sees Bocchi at a park with a guitar, and as extroverts do with all introverts, adopts her into the band without much room for Bocchi to protest. Bocchi usually caves into slight peer pressure anyways, but I don't think Nijika gave her much room to refuse. Granted, the show wouldn't have been able to happen if Bocchi wasn't just consorted, and like I said, every extrovert just kind of adopts an introvert, and that's just how it goes. Other than Bocchi, Nijika is the only one to really get much backstory with her parents. Her mom died when she was young and her dad just wasn't around, pretty much leaving her older sister Seika to take care of her. She begged to be taken along to her sister's shows and pretty much grew up watching her sister play and experiencing the whole band environment. At some point, her sister quit and bought a club, the one the whole group works at called Starry, and the scene for a lot of their performances. Nijika wants to become successful in order to promote her sister's club in support of everything she's done for her. She was a fan of Bocchi's online persona as Guitar Hero, and figures out after realizing the way she plays and then retroactively recognizing the guitar she uses. She is pretty outgoing and kind, much like Kita, but she's more toned down and has her tsundere moments, especially when it comes to her sister or people who annoy her. When it comes to D&D, I thought I couldn't really see her as anything but a cleric. She's there to heal people when they need it, support them and lift them up, and is strong enough to stand on her own if and when it's needed. She's the leader of the band, deals with and helps Bocchi slowly grow and push herself, and passionate enough not to waver from her dreams or what she believes in. However, when looking through the cleric subclasses, I saw something that fits another character way better, so I had to reassess. The other characters I had a particular class in mind, so I ended up swapping them, and because they're very similar. So Nijika is going to be a paladin instead. They embody a lot of the same traits as a cleric, and the aura they exude helps other members of the party, keeping them in the fight. I'm picking the Oath of Glory for her. She wants her band to succeed, but also wants her sister's club to succeed, and they're one and the same goal. She will make her band the best in the world, and give all the credit to her sister and her club. All of her skills and abilities make her party better, faster, stronger, and to me that feels like her in a nutshell. I know I'm more sort of building them in D&D than talking about what they'd play this time, but when only using the anime there's a lot less to work with, and I feel like I'm staying true to their characters as much as possible. I wanted to take a quick moment to talk about Homie and the Dude. For longtime fans, they were one of the first people we partnered with to promote The Wandering Tavern, a Ghibli-esque setting for your game. We had the chance to go and meet them during Gen Con, and they were really some of the kindest and most real people I've ever met. I was going through a really hard time mentally, questioning my own self-worth and all that, and the way they carried themselves and treated us really made me feel worth something, and I will always be eternally grateful to them. That being said, they have another project that just released called Scorched Basin. If you've ever been into that post-apocalyptic, gritty, Mad Max Dune type thing, this is the setting for you. As with all their stuff, it's agnostic, so it can be used for any TTRPG, not just D&D. We actually got to be a part of this project a little bit, as well as many other creators such as Runesmith, D&D Shorts, Zach the Bold, and all kinds of other people. We're just a small bit role, but other creators have lent their voices into developing these characters into full-fledged NPCs with attached voice lines and scenarios, and all kinds of other really neat stuff. If you want to support them, just check them out here and at the link pinned in the comments. They just opened their Kickstarter, but unlike most projects, the work is already done. Once the campaign ends, those books will be coming out ASAP, so you won't have to wait as long as with most Kickstarter things. They've also already blown past their goals, so no worries about getting it supported. Here's the link for the Kickstarter. Our code GMG and GMD still saves you 35% with the rest of their stuff, and I imagine that will carry over to Scorch Basin later after it's officially released for some time. It's the most off you're going to find anywhere, and the code is good forever as far as I'm aware, so even if you want to wait to the holidays or something, you don't have to worry about not being able to right now. We'll continue to part with them as long as they're around, and thanks for giving us the time to try and give back to them like they've given back to us. Getting back into it, Kita Ikuyo is much the same as Nijika, though she feels like a more extreme version. She's also super kind and polite, often mediates for the band when there's disagreements, and is an extreme social butterfly. I'd go as far to say that she'd make a great idol if she didn't have a love for rock and being in the Kesuku band. She always has a bright and positive attitude, flourishes in the spotlight, and has a ton of charisma, so much so that people cave into what they call her Kita aura. The only odd thing about her is her obsession with Ryo, which getting close to her is the main reason she joined the band in the first place, even lying about being able to play the guitar just to be in the band. Through the irony of life, she ran away when it was time to practice, and once Bocchi was recruited, she invited Kita to come sing for them, only for her to realize it was the same band, and having to apologize and make it up to them for bailing and being misleading in the first place. No one held it against her though, and even though Kita had been practicing the guitar on her own, she felt it was hopeless as she couldn't seem to learn it, only for her to be shown that she was playing a bass the whole time. She comes across as scatterbrained, though I akin it more to her outlook of things that it is what it is, and she always is going to make the best of it. Now originally I had planned a paladin for her, because she has her own actual aura in the show, which I mentioned earlier, but when I was looking over the cleric subclasses for Nijika, I found the Peace Domain cleric. Seeing as she keeps the band from getting too carried away in their arguments, and draws the band together, even accidentally turning in Bocchi's application to perform at the school festival, she seems the type to make sure everyone could do their best and bond together. The Peace Domain literally bonds members of the party together with a pseudo-bless, and they can move around or allow other members to protect each other with their abilities. The whole subclass literally promotes party solidarity and working together to heal and keep everyone up and healthy in combat, and that fits Kita to a T. Now it's time for the main star Bocchi, or Hitori if you want to use her actual name. Calm down, you'll be fine. Hitori, if you don't already know somehow, is someone who suffers from crippling anxiety about any social or uncomfortable situations. It's not that she wants to be alone like Ryo does, but rather she can't get over her own insecurities. This has always affected her, unable to talk to people, even when the chance is opened up, for fear of just sounding stupid or overstepping boundaries. She's so advertently kind and compassionate it literally prevents her from almost interacting with anyone in fear of inconveniencing them or being a burden. She creates scenarios to try and get people to talk to her, like bringing her guitar to school, which actually worked in her favor in the long run as Nijika saw it and caused her to sort of force her into joining the band. She wants to be outgoing and socially cool, but can't seem to hold on to those moments when she succeeds. The mind is your own worst enemy, and even if you find yourself being completely comfortable for a while, you suddenly remember you're not usually comfortable and kind of go into this self-fulfilling spiral. I can sort of relate to that mindset, you know? Sometimes things get tough, and then you remember all the times things were tough, and wonder why things keep being so tough, and what happens the next time things are tough, and you just spiral and spiral till your head is stuck in this never-ending tornado of negativity. In these times, you really need good friends and people that care about you to help you push yourself. It's okay to need help. It's okay to not be able to do something on your own. Don't be afraid to reach out to anyone, really. We've all been there. Anyways, this sort of veered off into a tangent about depression, and I've been pretty open about my insecurities and battle with self-worth and stuff. With a lot of these characters, it can be pretty easy to relate to them in some way, and I guess I just tend to get carried away sometimes. As far as Bocchi playing D&D, it might seem impossible at first, but she's actually fairly normal around people she's comfortable with. When she's trying out her impression of Kita and her family catches her, she's oddly calm about it considering I'd be dying of embarrassment myself. So she can act normally around those she's gotten to know. So she'd definitely be able to sit at a table and play. Here's where it all goes south. Bocchi would do her best to prepare for the game, but of course she wouldn't get any rules or anything. She would get all gung-ho about playing a character that's so far removed from being herself in order to try to push herself towards getting out of her shell. It would be all cutesy and confident, and after completing it, she would stare in horror at what she created and realize that there's no way in hell she could possibly play this type of character, and for fear of being so embarrassed that she self-microwaves, she'd toss it in the trash. Of course, the next time her friends come over, they might see a strange paper in the garbage can, and since they're already apt to picking stuff out of the garbage, they would find her character sheet and think that Bocchi wanted to play this type of character and work really hard to set that up for her. So, as I say this and consistently break every rule I set forth, this will be the only time I do this. Probably. She's going to play something homebrewed, a magical girl warlock. Wouldn't you know, we also have made that in the past. But this is less about advertising. I mean, here, take it for free. We'll put it in the comments. But more so because I feel it fits the essence of this show so spectacularly. Her having to step into this type of character that we've all seen. I mean, imagine Bocchi trying to play Sailor Moon or Madoka. And the funny part is, all of this will be her own mental image because it's just pretend on a piece of paper. But her mind will absolutely take her way, way further than the game would ever make her do as she descends into her own madness. I think she'd probably enjoy it once her friends work to pull her out of her complete shutdown after an hour, but that whole thing just seems fitting, and miscommunications and good intentions is like 95% of the show. If you're wondering why I'm not choosing a DM, well, I'd like to be true to what I said for once. I also don't feel like any of these characters really jump out as a DM, though I could certainly think Nijika or Kita could do it. Even Bocchi, really. But if I had to specifically choose one for this cast, I pick her. Yep. She's in the entire first season quite often, even having lunch with the group. What's her name, though? I must have just missed it when they said it. Alright, I'll just check the wiki to remember. Pa-san? Oh, that's just what she's called one time, because her name hasn't actually been given yet, even in the manga. Well, Pa-san, you're our DM. With that segue, we can get to her boss, Seika. As I mentioned with Nijika's backstory, she's her older sister and used to be in a band and take Nijika around to her shows. At some point she quit and bought a club. Her reasons for this aren't confirmed, though Nijika believes she did it for her. Seika's own words are just that she got sick of being in a band and playing, but we can easily see through the facade she puts up to remain cool and grounded. She's always left a spot open for her sister's band and always planned to support her, though she's treated her with tough love, not giving her sister and their band any free passes and making sure that they earn it. She's cool, calm, collected, and compassionate, though she tries not to show it. Now, what would she play? Well, she's definitely too soon to really go out of her way and play something off-kilter for her. It'd be pretty hard to get her to play, but maybe Nijika found some way to cajole her. I see her as trying to remain cool, but in the background, so the others can shine more, but showing up when she kinda needs to. You could probably see where I'm going with this. I'm giving her rogue. But what kind? Assassin is always good, just kind of the first thing you think of when you think of a rogue and can really blitz an unaware target, but is that cool? Mastermind sort of fits her regular personality, especially with the way she was watching the Kesaku band, and especially Bocchi, recognizing her talents even though she was bombing from complete nervousness. Swashbuckler is cool, but I wouldn't say her personality is charming. So I think that leaves us with Soul Knife. What's cooler than a rogue who can do all the rogue stuff, but they also have mysterious psychic powers? Blades that disappear and leave no physical trace when they do damage? The ability to talk telepathically with your party within a mile of them? This is the perfect cool class for someone who can be there and also not be there, which I think mimics her role as the manager, as she's there to support and push the group, but mostly lets them figure it out on their own. Kikuri Hiroi. Oh boy. At face value, you know exactly what you're dealing with. Someone who's drunk all the time, which makes them belligerent, annoying, and clingy. She isn't able to really think twice about her own actions, and the alcohol lets her be a bit too carefree. We've all dealt with drunk people, and she's the personification of a drunk party girl, who just wants to focus on having a good time. Now, underneath it all, she shares quite a lot of qualities with Bocchi, which often leads Bocchi down the mental path to what her life would be like if she doesn't succeed in her goals, often stuck in her cardboard box fort at home with a drink in hand. Kikuri isn't really that bad of a person, she just found alcohol as a means to deal with her own insecurities, and unfortunately alcohol is quite addicting, especially for someone like her, where it really represses her normal personality. As a compliment to Ryo and Bocchi, she was also a bit of a shut-in loner type during her days at school, but instead of just preferring to be alone or having crippling social anxiety, she was more the gloomy type. You know, things don't seem to look up, you gotta expect the worst out of situations. I can kinda relate to that too. Always prepare for the worst so you're never too disappointed when it all comes crashing down, right? When it came time for her first time performing, her own insecurities also made it incredibly difficult to play. That's when she turned to alcohol to let loose, and, well, that's where it all starts and ends, really. She's shown to regress back into that gloomy personality if she doesn't drink for a while, and I guess she really just doesn't like being that way, and this is the only way she could really change who she is. It is what it is. For D&D, well, this is pretty easy too. She often loses her money to buying more alcohol, or more importantly, when she gets carried away and destroys equipment or venues and has to pay the repair fees. So we're going barbarian here. I think it would let her let loose. I mean, barbarians are all about smashing stuff and having a good ale after, right? Looking through the subclasses, I only had to see one phrase to be sold on her subclass. Axe Idiot. The Battle Rager. Now this says that it's restricted to Dwarf, and that you can only be played in the Forgotten Realms, which is a really weird restriction for something, to be honest. Looking over, it actually doesn't seem like the greatest subclass, but alas, that's not what I'm here for. We're here for the vibes, and so she's being the small, destructive dwarf in spiked armor just wrecking things and causing chaos, and then picking up a massive tab for all the destruction caused during the mission. And that is the 6 characters for Bocchi the Rock. Like I said, I know Season 2 was announced way back in February, and obviously the manga is way further ahead, but we stick to what's in the anime, and I try not to spoil anything too much. I'm sure there might have been information I left out, and I didn't even really want to spoil myself really, so I just worked entirely within Season 1. Anyways, these have been really fun, and I've got quite the slate of interesting or funny ideas coming up, so I hope you enjoyed these. Sorry for the tangent on depression and stuff. It's been a hard week, and, we all live life and, have our own ups and downs, so just appreciate you bearing with me, especially if this video isn't as good as quality as they have been. Anyways, thank you to everyone supporting us and our patrons and all the viewers. We have memberships now on YouTube that are like $3 with new emotes and badges and stuff if you want to support us that way. I appreciate you sticking with us either way. I'm Metal Atlas, and I'll see you when I see you.